My name is DJ Skittles. I actually live in Bergenfield, New Jersey. That's in Bergen County. COVID-19 had affected my life in a sense of my profession because I am a DJ. I'm an independent contractor. So at that time, it was really hard to have steady income come in. And so what I ended up having to do was create my own side hustle, which was my private catering business, and do some lives on social media so I can get tips so I can pay my bills. And that pretty much went on for everybody from drag queens to DJs to comedians, everyone that I work with in nightlife. So I did get vaccinated and I did get my first booster. I'm still waiting for the second one because I did catch COVID again when I was about to get the other booster. But I got it for numerous reasons. Two reasons. One, because I live with my mother. She had autoimmune immunocompromised, so she has diabetes and she suffers from mental illness. So I didn't want to put her at risk with COVID. And so also, I looked at getting vaccinated an unselfish thing because I'm always going to be surrounded by people, whether it's in nightlife, whether I'm doing a catering party or anything. So I looked at it as this. I'm getting vaccinated for the safety of others besides myself. So if I can minimize the chances of someone getting it or the chances of getting, extreme symptoms from it or even death, leading to death, then I was all up for getting the vaccine. At first, I was hesitant about, let me rephrase this part. So when I was researching about the COVID-19 vaccine, I was going to my peers in nightlife, like, other drag queens who had gotten the vaccine before me, because in the beginning, they were only offering it to people that were autoimmune compromised or, if they were elderly or any of that stature, first responders or frontline workers. So I wasn't there. A DJ is not there as a frontline worker, even though we entertain you when you're miserable and stuck in the house during quarantine. So I was asking, my friends, how did it feel? What were the symptoms? And I trust a lot of their judgment when it comes to that. Again, in the back of my mind, getting the COVID-19 vaccine was more of not just me. It's about everybody that I surround myself with. And so then I also researched online what were the side effects of getting the vaccine. Would I be allergic to any of the ingredients in the vaccines? I also looked at it as a political standpoint of which vaccine I want to get, because I'm not going to help promote any company that isn't pro me or my community. So that was another thing when researching about the COVID-19 vaccines. I mean, a lot of times when I'm looking up anything, everybody uses Google, right? So I was looking at, resources, but also I was also researching the doctors that were giving or the scientists that were giving information on these websites or articles in regards to the COVID-19 vaccine. So I was doing that kind of research and making sure that, okay, if I'm gonna get the vaccine, is this gonna benefit me besides keeping me from having extreme symptoms? So, just going through that, and I trust, a CNN every so often, and New York Times. I trust those sites. I don't trust sites that don't have any evidential proof or credentials in what they say. I try to avoid those kind of news articles or websites if they're giving false information. I try to avoid that as much as possible. But again, I like to do my own hands-on research. If that person, graduated from Harvard Medical School, or this person graduated, from here and has been working at New York Presbyterian for 20 years, I'm going to actually read more about that information than somebody from, let's say, Fox News that just sits in a chair for for you know for less than 2 hours a day, reading whatever they get from a prompter. So I haven't really spoken to any healthcare provider in regards to the COVID-19 vaccine. Again, it's more of my research and development, asking my peers and everybody that I work around or anyone I was connected with. I do have a best friend for over 30 years who is a nurse who's been, seen severe cases of COVID-19 in the hospital. So a lot of his judgment and his experience I take into consideration. Um, and, you know, uh, Anybody who has had it, I've also asked them questions in regards to COVID-19. Like, what are the symptoms? How long did it last? When did you get tested? Those were the kinds of questions I would ask, um, you know, when it came to like, what did you take? Because it's something that's not curable. So, what could you take to, mask the symptoms or make it less painful, when getting COVID-19? I think that state and local organizations can really be informative with the communities, like especially inner urban cities, and go to them like, maybe have like a town hall meeting and say, hey, if you're really curious about what's in these boosters or in these vaccines and what are the benefits of it, what are the side effects, and more hands-on, like one-on-one, I think it would be a more effective way to get people to get vaccinated. I think it's a lot easier these days to get the COVID-19 vaccine only because now it's more plentiful, like, and there are more facilities, not just going to a center or going to, a health office. You can actually go to your local pharmacies to get the vaccine and set up appointments easily online, which I've done. I don't really need to speak to anybody on the phone. I could just do it, on the pharmacy website and look at the time and this, the date of when I'm available to go in. And, I think before it was harder for people to get vaccinated because of the requirements. Okay, you had to be elderly. If you had, pre-existing conditions, if you live with someone that's elderly, those requirements are no longer necessary these days. So that's why it's a lot easier to get vaccinated. I don't really think that anyone has been left out or any communities have been left out of being able to get vaccinated or having the accessibility of getting vaccinated. I just think it's people's motivation to want to get vaccinated is the real key here. There are a lot of people that are taking it to a whole political, way, and that's why they're not wanting to get vaccinated. But again, I said before, it's not just about me and it's not just about you. It's about everyone's safety at the end of the day. So I think with the state and local communities improving like the way of, you know, communicating about the vaccine is again being proactive, being out there, setting up kinds of like meetings or conferences and like getting people motivated and like seeing that you know, that it's not a political thing, that it's not just one race or one, how do we say this? I think that the state and local communities have been doing rather a fair job of, keeping up with people and making sure that, the vaccine is available and where to go for the vaccine. I do get calls every so often from the health center of New Jersey, reminding me, hey, you can get a booster. We're on 5, 6, or 7 booster. um, but I feel like they're on the right path when it comes to making sure that the messages are coming across. I just feel like people don't know so much what's the side effects of the vaccine, or if they get a mild case of COVID, kind of like the flu shot, what can they do? What can they do if they go into a panic? Those are the kinds of questions I feel like they need to answer those, so that way people can be more confident in getting the vaccine. What I wanted to add when it came down to the whole COVID-19 situation, it did really impact, the community that I work with. I work in nightlife in New York City and New Jersey, and I feel that like we weren't getting heard enough, as far as, okay, can we get assistance from the government? Can we get unemployment like everyone else? Because we too have to struggle the same way. Are we able to pay our bills? Are we able to get an extension for rent? Are we able to, buy food for the next day? Or, what about our pets? If we have pets, what about medications, leaving the house? All of those things were a huge factor. And I feel like those weren't addressed enough in an equal space. And I think that because now we're in post-COVID time, I think now we can really see, okay, if we were to ever have a pandemic like this again, what can we do to make it so that our community is not suffering? And I think that is the big issue nowadays, is making sure that, okay, we have the vaccines easily accessible. If for some reason you're sick and you can't go to work, can you get paid time off? Like, those companies need to reevaluate things and really cherish the people that are working for them and growing their businesses. Because if they're not, then what are we doing for our community at the end of the day?